Hi Luke and Angus, you formed in 1994. I mean, you met in 1994?
Yeah.
When Luke was 16 and Angus was 11?
Yeah, that's right.
A 5-year gap is, well, pretty big at that age. Yeah, so what was it for you too?
Well, we were in a high school band together, and I met Gusto through his dad, who was running the band. And we were, even though we were in the same band, it was probably maybe not for a couple of years after that till we started actually hanging out after school or whatever, and starting to produce on the side. We both had a love of hip hop music, so we kind of came together with that in common, and then went from there.
And at what age did you actually start to work together, or maybe to hang out together?
Well,
Good question.
it's a good question. I guess maybe around 13 or 14. I was maybe 13, 14,
Yeah,
I think.
I would have been 18.
You know, when you're young, I mean, especially between 10 and 20s, 5 years is a lot of. It's
That's
a
a
lot.
big gap.
Absolutely.
So what made it for you? Because you were
Well,
the older one. What made it for you interesting to hang out with him?
Well, I was.
As cool you might have been, but
I was so cool back then.
He was really cool, and I was really immature.
Okay.
So
Okay, that's good.
it was perfect match, really.
No, but can you what?
I think it was music.
Yeah, it would have been music. Like, we both played in this band together, and we had a mutual love of a lot of different genres of music, and yeah, I think that was the thread. You know, we just started hanging out and talking about music, and
And what music were you into back then, both of you?
a lot of hip hop.
A lot of hip hop and anything like funk, jazz, reggae,
Yeah.
soul.
Rock, like Primus, metal.
We kind of
Yeah.
came up playing in like funk and jazz bands, and then through like funk and jazz with like hip hop sampling a lot of that music. That's how we kind of got into hip hop through, you know, hearing those like jazz records sampled and looped, and that's what piqued our interest to start trying to do that ourselves and start producing like electronic music.
What was the first thing that you actually produced yourself? Do you still recall?
Yeah, it was a song called Days in Wobbly Land, and we wrote it, and then something mysterious happened on the computer, and we lost the whole song, and we were really cut because it was a really great song, and so we rewrote it. We rewrote the song, and we never put it out. We never ended up releasing it, but it was the kind of, I guess it spawned the energy to kind of do it more often and actually make it a group, I suppose.
But when you rewrote the song, was it as good, or was it even better? Or
I can't really remember, man.
I think
so
it
long
was.
ago.
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was as good. I don't think it was better, but it was still. We managed to recreate what we lost, so we were pretty happy.
And if you go back to that first song that you wrote, was it done on purpose, or was it just fooling around and it took you somewhere?
I think it was just mucking around because we were still working out, you know, how to sort of loop stuff up right, and kind of, I don't know, we were just getting into it, so we were just experimenting and seeing what sounded good. And
what year is that for?
that would have
Approximately?
been 98.
Yeah, 98, 99.
And well, you released your first album in 2003. If you listen back to all your previous albums now, what sort of development do you hear yourself? Can you still listen to your first album, for example?
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting going back and listening to your old music, you know, and it's music has that ability to put you instantly in a memory, you know, like as soon as you hear something, you can picture where you were. In our case, when we made it, and I guess in other people's cases where they first heard it and were listening to it. But I feel like, you know, development-wise, we've just kind of worked on how to write a good song, like song structure, and also producing, and how to make it sound better, and just generally kind of fumbling along the way, but learning as you do, and then, you know, it's always, every record we write is a massive learning curve. Like, we discover something new, and we like push ourselves in a way that we haven't pushed ourselves before.
Do you have certain key songs in your development as songwriters on your previous albums that you say, well, that was a song that we actually lifted to a new level?
I think there was a song, Frayed, off our album Threads, that was like a really, I don't know, I think it just was like a great song. That was one of them. And then when we released Hyper Paradise, our fourth album, there was a song Speak of the Devil on there that was like probably our most stereotypical pop song, but it wasn't like we were trying to write a pop song. We just kind of wrote this song and it just kind of came out, and it was like this kind of really vibing, kind of upbeat song. And it's interesting when songs kind of write themselves, and it's very easy. You know you've got a good song in your hands when it just falls out. And other times you can be like struggling to finish a song or get it to the right spot.
What, with these two songs, did you actually know when they were done that it was a key song for you, maybe? That was it?
Yeah, for sure.
I think so.
At first we were a little bit scared of Speak of the Devil because it was such a pop song. We were like, oh, this is definitely more pop than we've ever gone before. And I remember we put it to the side when we were writing the album, and when it came to, we had all the songs for the album, we were like, we kind of still need a single. And then we looked to Speak of the Devil and we're like, well, there it is, and we brought it back in, and it made sense with the rest of the record, and so we put it out.
Was it something that you were maybe, what made you hesitate maybe at first when you wrote that song?
It was out of our comfort zone, so it was something that sounded possibly a little bit more mainstream than we'd written before, and it was just something that kind of wasn't a typical Hermitude song, I guess, when we or what we didn't think was a typical Hermitude song at the time, and then of course listening to it now, it totally sounds like something that we'd write, but yeah, I guess there's just that little bit of, you're just a little bit nervous, I guess, and anticipating like, oh, what will people think, if we put this out, but in the end, like Angus was saying, you just, when it sat so well with the rest of the record, and you just have to trust your instinct.
But was it something maybe back then that mainstream was maybe a bit that you were afraid maybe of selling out or something?
Well, it wasn't so much selling out, that we sort of ruminated in the sort of underground scene a lot in Australia back at that point. And it was really, that whole album for us was really our sort of crossover album, which brought us out into the mainstream a bit more. But it just connected with people, and it also connected with the time and the style of music that was happening at that time, and it was just a kind of evolution, I would say.